This is the Lego version of Senna's McLaren MP4, and today I'm going to be drawing it and guiding you through the entire process from getting a reference photo to doing the sketch to a base layer using markers and finally bring it to life using the colored pencils. So let's dive straight into it. So with the help of my light box, I'm going to be taking a photograph of the model. Now this is to get a reference image that I can then go and work from, and it really is just a case of taking lots and lots of photographs until I find an angle that really resonates with the image that I have in my head. And out of all the photographs that I've taken, this one right here is definitely my favorite. So I then put a grid onto this reference photo and I drew the exact same grid onto my piece of paper. So now that I've done that, I can go through each of the boxes one at a time and use them to sketch an outline from my reference photo onto my piece of paper. And the reason the grid method here is so overpowered when doing sketches, particularly of Lego, is because they provide so many reference points, so it becomes a lot easier to gauge where each of the pieces needs to go, opposed to doing it freehand where it's quite overwhelming. And obviously, because it's such a complex subject, you often get lots of things wrong, and if you get something wrong when drawing Lego, it all starts to look a bit weird. And once I'm happy with the sketch, I go and erase the majority of the grid lines, and then I go over the entire sketch with something called a kneadable eraser. And what this is doing is it's basically mopping up any of the excess graphite that would otherwise mix and muddy all the colors that I put on top. So the sketch here took me around 5 hours to complete, and in order to color it in, the first thing that I need to do is a base layer using the alcohol markers. So the markers that I'm using are called Ahuhu Honolulu markers, and what I'm doing is I'm just looking at the reference photo and going, okay, what are the most obvious areas of tone and color that I can see here, and then jotting them in on my drawing using the markers. And I used about 5 different reds here and about 10 different grays, and the grays that I was using were cool and ice grays because they have a bluish hint to them, which helps to bring the color saturation of those gray areas up so they don't look dull in comparison to those really bright red pieces. And I do really want to emphasize the fact that this is just a base layer, so I'm not being too particular here or doing a lot of blending. I am making sure to stay within the lines though, that is very important. And there are 2 reasons why I'm doing a base layer. Number 1 is because the colored pencils will always look more vibrant when they're going on top of an already colored surface opposed to a white one. And number 2 is markers obviously cover the page a lot quicker than what pencils can, so I can very quickly get a really nice accurate blueprint of all the tones and colors before I go in with the colored pencils, which really helps to make the drawing process a lot more efficient because I already know where everything needs to go. It's just a case of emphasizing what's already there with the colored pencils a bit later. So here you go. This is the marker base complete after just shy of 5 hours, bringing the total drawing time to 10 hours. And the next phase in my drawing process is using the colored pencils just to add in the details and really clean up this marker base. Now the exact pencils I'm using for this are called Faber-Castell Polychromos, which are an oil-based pencil, which means they can blend together really smoothly, making them ideal to draw Lego with. And the way that I'm using them on this car is I'm basically going in with a very, very dark pencil, and I'm making sure it's nice and sharp as well, like the black or the dark indigo or a very, very dark red, dependent on the area. And I'm just going in and cleaning up the marker base, because what can happen is obviously markers are great, but obviously the tip of the marker is quite big and does tend to bleed a little bit. So obviously with these sharp dark pencils, I can just go and clean it up to ensure that everything is definitely in the right place before I go and spend a bit more time working on that area with the pencils. And then the way that I'm using the pencils on the main body of each of the panels is I'm using lots and lots of layers. And the layers is really key because with each layer that you add, the pencil work will gradually get smoother and smoother and smoother because the pigment that you're putting down will mix with the pigment that is already on the page. And it's this fact that allows me to create really nice smooth pencil work that helps to create the illusion of actual Lego pieces. So in total, this piece took me just shy of 30 hours to complete. If you'd like a limited edition print of this piece, I'll have them linked down below. And yeah, if you've enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll like the one that has appeared on screen right about now. I shall see you over there.